G'day punters, welcome to Victims of the Punt. We're looking at the time-honoured Bondi and invitation meeting there from Saturday at Randwick. But look, must say the features, they've got a few iffy figures. We'll get to that later on. But Mark Shean, I'll start with yourself. What was the day like overall on course?
Not as big a crowd as Everest Day, so I'm not sure that the public warmed to the invitation as yet. Maybe they will in future years. Race number 1 was interesting. I've never seen so many horses having a flash there in the parade before race number 1. It was a Robble updates on that probably, but it's the worst parade I've ever seen.
Wow, it's all happening there in Sydney, obviously. Mark Rhoden, look, there was some okay figures in the middle of the card, but later on that just doesn't seem to stand up given the rest of the performances on the day.
Yeah, the times for the 2 big races were very poor compared to races over the same distance earlier in the day. I wonder if the track deteriorated during the day. Also, it seemed like, to some extent, the inside was no longer the place to be. After looking very much the place to be early, the last 4 winners have all come either backhand or wide. Like the staying race was very truly run, so I wasn't surprised to see Torrens get over the top of them. Well, it actually raced handy, then got shuffled back. But they were coming from the back in slowish paces too, so something might have switched around mid-race, but on face value, the 2 big races have been very poor on time.
Okay. And Rob Scurry, welcome to you. First week back on course after a few months of lockdown. How have you found being back in the thick of the action?
Yeah, really good. It's like my second home, the racetrack, so I'm very comfortable there. And, you know, I was expecting more narky security people, but no, it seems pretty relaxed. And, yeah, with this reduced, well, I'm not sure we usually get crowds that big anyway, but, yeah, it just felt like business as usual.
Okay, very good. Look, we'll start with race 3. We'll touch on most of the card, but race 3 to start with the Brian Crowley 1,200 metre listed race, very slow tempo and punting forms figures, 6.5 lengths slow to the 600, and Mazu well found on the previous show by both of the marks. Rob, but I'll start with you in the yard.
Look, I thought the president was a bit fat, maybe a bit underdone. The winner looked very well. The Willie horse, he looked great, like pretty much at top for a Waller runner. He's an athletic kind of wiry thing. I'm pretty sure they'll put him out now. And yeah, he's the one I want to follow out of the race. Maybe President only on a wet track, but I think he can improve. And being a front runner, you know, you might get some good odds and he might go a little bit further. But yeah.
Okay, Mark Shean, how are you reviewing this race?
I think this race was very much down on class on previous years. This used to be a very good guide to the Coolmore in the past, but jammed up only a week before now. But Mazu has been struggling this preparation after being promising as a 2-year-old. But I think that's the best he's paraded on Saturday. Normally get a bit fizzy and up on the toe, but they definitely put pacifiers on him and it settled him down in the yard. And even though he got fired up in the run from the 600, he did conserve a bit of energy in the early stages and got into a good spot, and that probably won him the race. Able Willie was very much like he was on debut, pulling hard, just in the settle, and that bad barrier did play against him in the end. There's not much of him, as Rob said. He looked a bit light first up and he looked a bit light again on Saturday.
Yep. Mark Rhoden, are you following any of these next start, or are you just giving them a bit of time?
Don't know about next start, but I think Able Willie's pretty good. He just needs to improve his racing manners a little bit, and I thought, well, we mentioned in the previous show, I thought he was drawn terribly. The market was certainly with us. Mazu was around $6 when we talked about it and got into, the 270 range, but very late the money was all for Able Willie and Mazu got back out. I was surprised to see that given the map, but I think he's going to make a nice horse if he improves a few things. And Mazu, I think that's probably the best run of his career so far, and the pacifiers might have done the trick with him. I don't know. Yeah, he's not absolute top class, but I think he can win his share of races too. And nothing wrong with the second horse either. Battledon, it's actually improved each of its 3 starts, so that's always a good sign as well.
Well, he's probably looking for a bit further now, I thought.
I'd say so. I didn't think he was particularly well suited. His first 2 runs were 1100, weren't they? But
sorry, mate. Sorry, go on.
I was just saying his first 2 were at 1100, but they were. He was strong to the line on both occasions, so he has shaped like he went further.
Yeah. Just thought he was a touch reluctant at the top of the straight to go between horses and seemed to surge on a bit when he got a bit more room late. So he's still inexperienced, so maybe he didn't fancy getting a little bit jammed up there at the top of the straight.
Okay. Let's jump to race 5, which is a handicap race over 1,400 metres. And in terms of the tempo, it's one of the better performed races on the day. They've gone 4.5 lengths fast to the 600 there on Punting Form's data, and Exoboom has run over the top of Yamazaki late. Rob, you found Exoboom out of the yard here.
Yeah, he looked sensational, I thought. But, even back in my mind, it's just my pig-headedness that we've actually backed it, because the map said, it can't win, and it looked like it couldn't win a long way out. But yeah, it's a lovely horse. Maybe it's some chance in the Golden Bird next week, and I think I've heard they might be backing it up. It's on the quick backup, it could go well. As you said, the figures are good. My old mate Cuba looks sensational. I thought he might do something at the top of the straight, but I probably got to let him go. Or he's probably too old and maybe lost a bit of zest for racing. Good run, Yamazaki. Creaderis paraded the best I've seen him parade first up. But we all know what he does. So Exo, the winner, the one to follow. Yamazaki, good run as well.
Okay, Mark Shean, your thoughts out of this race?
Well, I think the talking point up to this race was that it was very on pace, and most people labelled Emerald Kingdom, but he was awful there. He got busted up by Bergen on speed, and Bergen did a good job to hold on for third, considering they went so quickly. But it showed that with genuine pace on, you could make ground from the back of the field. Yamazaki and Exoboom got the pace to suit, but I think Bergen's certainly the one to follow back in grade. And Creaderis, well, as Rob said, he looked okay. He'll certainly improve with the run, but he was very sluggish in his trial and very sluggish again on Saturday.
Yeah, there was no money for Creaderis. The other late there was their Mark Rhoden. He sort of just drifted right out the gate, and Exoboom was quite firm, as was obviously Emerald Kingdom, who's run last.
Yeah, he went up. He went up favourite, I think, Creaderis in the first mark, and he was unwanted. I was with that Emerald Kingdom. I was on pretty good terms with myself earlier in the meeting when it looked like leaders and horses drawn racing on the fence were favoured. My enthusiasm started to dampen a little bit when I spoke to Rob, who said he looked fat, which was a bit of a concern. And look, if I checked the stewards reports and there was no abnormality. I thought he might have pulled up with an issue, but he didn't apparently. I just think if he wasn't fit and the tempo they were going, that's just completely got rid of him. They had gone very fast, which, as Mark touched on, makes Bergen's run very good. It's been put on for Exoboom, but he's covered 1,481.1. They don't go much faster than that. So he's, when circumstances are right for him, still capable of going up to that level he was showing as a 3-year-old.
Yep. Okay, let's have a look at the next race in the card, race 6, which was over the mile, benchmark 78 in terms of the speed. Another fast tempo race, going 5 lengths fast to the 600. And Ruby Tuesday has led and put a space on them late, ridden by Jason Collett. Rob, Scurry, run us through how the yard looked.
Oh, look, these are pretty average. I was just talking to Mark Rhoden, and we kind of agreed that this is like a Wednesday lot. The import looked well enough for Chris Shabelli or whatever it's called. But yeah, it was just a really small play for me. I'm just pulling up the results here to remember what I actually even did. But yeah, forgettable race. Go to Mark Shean and I'll come back to me if I've got another comment. 1 sec.
All right, Mark.
Yeah, well, Ruby Tuesday was it was a horror watch at the start before Rose Hill when Tim Clark rode, but Jason Collett bounced it out and led. She does race well when she jumps well and can get control, and she did that, and it got back to a leaders race after we saw in the previous race something coming from back. She did a good job here, did it both ends, but they're midweek horses. Shibley looked great in the yard, but bit disappointing, but nothing really made ground in this race. They just sort of held their position, so I'm not sure what to make of this race. French Bonnet trapped wide, but hasn't really stepped up to this Saturday company in the past, and was found wanting a little bit there, but did have a tough run.
All right, Rob, what do your notes say?
Yeah, I was on French Bonnet, but it might be a horse that I backed as a maiden at Newcastle, and I had a good result on it at Warwick Farm the other week. So I'm not sure about it. Maybe half forgive. It's one I'll probably go again, as I do like to give horses that I like a bit of a a few chances like Cuba. But yeah, look, there was that, and there was another thing I backed it. It was meant to lead with Josh Parr on, and he dragged it back to last. Eliza Beale.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Eliza Beale as well. That was meant to go forward. It was even in the stewards report that it was going to go forward. Five Kingdoms was another small play which has run quite well, but he need to go back till Wednesday. Maybe he can do something.
And Mark Rhoden, you gave it a little bit of a push there late on the previous show to the winner here.
Yeah, I didn't back it. I don't know why. I'm going to have to interrogate my processes after this race. While I wasn't on this at $14, napped beautifully. I wasn't sure it was going to leave, but it was going to be up there. But anyway, I'm not going to dwell on that. It was a funny race. It certainly had an easy enough time. It didn't completely walk. It just went at a nice tempo in front. That's it to go. And the others couldn't make an inch on it. Shibley got shuffled back. I think he's going to be, he'll be competitive in benchmark 78 races and the like when things go his way. That didn't really. That said, he didn't really dominate the horses around him. He wasn't smashing the line either. So, that's against him. But I think just getting back in that awful spot didn't help him. Wednesday race, apart from the winners won by 2.5 lengths. So it's actually put in a real Saturday performance, and the others have put in the sort of Wednesday level performances that the horses that they really are. I mean, she's run, 0.9 of a second faster than Hilal in the $1 million race. So, with similar late section. So you can't really take too much away from the winner.
Exactly right. The race 7 was the Tatts Cup over 2,400. Very fast tempo here, pretty brutal up front, 9 lengths fast to the 600, and that was set by Hush Rider, which there was support for, but Torrens has basically sat just behind the speed and been able to go past them. Rob, run us through some of these.
Oh, look, yuck. You know how I feel about Sydney Stays. I really like them. I thought 1, 2 and 3 all look kind of good. Cariff always, he looked like at top, but probably needs to be retired, or maybe he needs, I don't know what he needs, but he might need 4,000 metres or Warrnambool or something. Then Zarek, first time I'd seen it, I thought it just looked like carrying a little bit of condition. I know this stable can do that, so I wasn't keen to get involved with that at that price. And this flashy thing which was run last, Cepheus, it was gone after 200 metres, even though they said they're going to ride it more conservatively. They've ridden it to lead, and it's never got in, and it's got beaten 16 lengths. Look, Savvy Valentino, as far as I thought she was a Wednesday horse. Hush Rider, the money's come for, and I don't know why. Maybe Mark Shean can enlighten me.
Well, I think back on dry track was the reason that the money came for Hush Rider, but they've just gone ballistic in this race in front. And I agree, Cepheus to be ridden further back, drew the outside barrier. Looked to be 5 litres in the race, and he's gone up 6 and 7 wide out of the straight the first time. No wonder it punctured. Look, this Zarek absolutely at the death looked like it had been in a car wash. It was just dripping sweat at the finish as they were loading in. So, look, I think he probably paraded a bit like he needed the run, and or he still had improvement. That might be the type of horse he is, but at the finish he was just a muck lather. So maybe he had an excuse there, but after Savvy Valentino and Zarek went round Torrens, you really wouldn't have contemplated Torrens coming in to run them down.
Yeah, it was an intriguing race, wasn't it, Mark Rhoden? In terms of the brutal tempo, again, we've said this a few times over the last few weeks. It's just completely sorted this group out with huge lengths differentials between the winners and those beaten.
Yeah, big margins after the first 3 or so across the line. I wonder if getting held up, that sort of sprung up on the turns, actually won Torrens the race, because you could argue off the hot tempo that maybe Zarek and even Savvy Valentino have gone a shade early. This is in hindsight, of course. I'm not actually potting the tactics. Zarek seemed to be travelling into it nicely, but they had gone very hard, and he probably did arrive a touch too early in retrospect. It's hard to say they've done much wrong on Savvy Valentino because it's beaten 3rd by about 4 lengths. So, but I reckon if Jenny Duggan had the option when she sort of saw the others coming, she probably would have gone as well. And whether it would have been able to hold them out if it turned into a pitch battle, I don't know. Right? As it turned out, they got a couple of lengths on her and she had the drop on them. So, it's hard to know what to do with this as a form race. I mean, figures-wise, it looks really good, because, but that can be misleading because, you know, over the year, most staying races aren't run at this sort of tempo. So whether they're going to be able to back that sort of form up when it's a more run-of-the-mill, slowly run 2,100-metre race remains to be seen. But look, what you can't deny is that when the speed is on, when it is a true staying test, that the true stayers and the first three across the line will count. In this case, will be suited. I mean, you're thinking it'd suit a horse like Cariff, but he might be gone, or just need 3,200 plus now. But yeah, as I say, I think it's the fairest sort of contest when you get that genuine pace, but it can make it a bit misleading going forward.
The Bondi, race $8 million over the mile and an even tempo, 1.8 lengths slow to the 600. Hilal was favourite. Keefe gave a good little bit of cheek there on speed, but Hilal won reasonably soft there in the end. And Rob, you sent out the exacta here.
Yeah, look, I thought Keefe looked great, but Hilal, I hadn't seen it, obviously, since its 2-year-old days. And what I saw was a horse which still looked like it had improvement in it, but was walking very well with a great shine to its coat. I knew that the map was going to be like its issue, but I just thought it might have a bit of a class edge. Nothing wrong with Coastwatch. I know he's been deep into a preparation, but I thought he still had good condition on him. But Arnequer didn't quite as impress me as much as it had as a younger horse. So maybe he hasn't grown up as much, but he seemed to have run very well here. Yeah, Hilal, I'm not sure. Maybe he'll go down to Melbourne. I think he's got another run or two in him. But you know, they probably want to wrap him in cotton wool and make him a $7 million stallion or something.
Mark Shean, does Hilal have the capabilities to win anything better than a Bondi?
Oh, look, he was the best horse in the race on form. It was a sort of a messy race. They pulled up mid-race and he got pulling a little bit, but I think class just prevailed at the end. Don't know that he went fantastic, but he got the job done. He paraded very well for him, I thought. Looked like he'd come on. I don't know if they'd press on to maybe the Sandown Guineas now, or maybe even tip him out. I'm not sure, but he could follow in the footsteps of Kubrick and Peltzer. And we saw Kubrick bounce back on Saturday, his first win in a couple of years. Hilal's probably a little bit better than that, but nevertheless, he hasn't beaten much here. I thought Arnequer just got into a bad spot. I know he's a bit of a one-pacer, but just got in an awkward spot on the fence there and probably should have finished a little bit closer, not really wanting to follow anything bar the winner, though.
Yeah, Mark Rhoden, how do you assess the winner going forward? Do you just say, well, he's done all he needed to do here, or do you actually penalise him a little bit because the figure is quite ordinary?
I think this is about how good he is.
Yeah.
I think he's on the times and so on. His Stan Fox win was actually better than this. And he probably had more to overcome that day. Maybe of his own making. It was him sort of not settling, but yeah, this has just been a dreadful, dreadful race, especially for the money. I didn't back Hilal. I was worried about the map, but I mean, when things like Coastwatch is over the top and Coda Healy are fighting it out for second favouritism, he probably needed to be back. In hindsight, Coda Healy thought it'd go better with the ridden with the trail, and it actually went worse. So I don't know what they'd do with it. Was pretty good at Goulburn, but hasn't lived up to that at all since. Not a very inspiring race at all.
You think he might just be a fresh horse over shorter trip, Mark? Maybe.
Well, that could be it, couldn't it? The way he attacked the line over 1,300 that day, I was thinking, can't wait to be on him up to a mile and so on. But maybe that was misleading.
Yeah, well, I looked at his run again in the size in Queensland over 14. He sort of made a dash and then paddled late. So maybe that around that 1,300 mark. Like he might get 14 later on, but
one of those horses that when they win look like they won further, but they've actually only got a short sprint.
Race 9, the Invitation 1,400 for the fillies and mares. Look, they've gone slow here, 4 lengths slow to the 600, and Icebath has settled last and run right over the top and won pretty easy. Rob, just run us through how these look, because you've obviously been a big fan of Icebath, but Entrevia and, that was incredibly firm late, and as was, there wasn't any money for Forbidden Love and Rocket Clock, but they've also run okay. Just run us through what you thought.
Well, I thought I was in my mind expecting Icebath to maybe come off it a little bit. I thought maybe she was set for the Epsom, but she was a clear standout to me in the yard. Her coat looked great. She still looked, carrying big condition, walking around perfectly. And for me, she was the best horse. So it was a bit like the Exoboom situation, probably patting against. But I'm back in this, and I had to, and if I was this is right in the Animo time, so I was sort of sweating on that protest, and and I half thought if this wins and I don't send it and I lose this protest, I'm gonna be absolutely beside myself. So it was basically a mental health tip for the punters with the map. I thought, why is it $6? When it's going to go back, but I don't know how well these horses are going, and she's going very well. Like on Travers, she's a athletic sort of type. She looked pretty close to top. I think she's in foal, so maybe that's the last we'll see of her. But she seems to be fairly disappointing. I know I watched the preview show. I know Mark Rhoden doesn't think much of Angelic. She got a birthday the other week. She's battled away. Darren was trying to hype up the call. They're coming from everywhere. No, Darren. Icebath's got them cold. It's over. And look, I don't know. I was flat after the race. I finally got my Icebath money, and I just lost the protest, which I'll be interested in Mark Shean's thoughts on that.
Yeah, Mark Shean, what's your thoughts on the protest, and then run us through your thoughts of the invitation?
Protest? It doesn't really matter. I thought it should have probably been upheld, just looking at the back angle, but it's in the record books now, isn't it? So it doesn't matter. I handled this a treat. I backed Icebath on Monday, expecting it to rain. When the 4 leaders won the first 4 races, I crushed most of it back. And then the next 2 races, they're down the outside. Geez, I've handled it a treat. I had a small win on it, but could have been better. But I tell you what, McAvoy's ride won the race because he got a rolling from the 650 instead of dicking around, waiting, checking off heels, not getting to the outside. He got her into the race and rolling, and got her momentum up, and she was too good.
Yep. Mark Rhoden, I was surprised how firm she was late in the piece, but it was incredibly justified.
Yeah, I suppose, well, the favourite was 2. In fact, they were back sort of to the exclusion of the rest. And maybe the people who moved the market said, right, we're just going to back the best 2 horses in the race here, and if one of them wins, we get the money. I was surprised because of the map that Icebath was so firm, but panned out okay for her. Pace wasn't breakneck on the punting form stuff anyway, but just the way it was run with the heights of Rocket Clock kicking up underneath on Travers, then it had to whip around them, on the bend, on that first bend there, and then sit sort of lead too wide, which isn't a great spot. Nature Strip can do it, but not many others can. It was, it just wasn't really suited. And then I reckon that the others have either failed or aren't good enough to beat a horse like Icebath. I don't think that's the best run of Icebath's career. I think her Doncaster placing was far superior to this for a start. Even her Epsom run was probably as good or better than this. But, her main dangers, had the tough run, hasn't gone to her best, and the others are all just what they are. And she's been Johnny on the spot, as they say, and was just too good for them. I thought she looked the winner a long, long way out too.
Yeah. Okay, race 10, benchmark 88 over 1,200 metres. Slow tempo, 3 lengths slow to the 600, and Quantico has been able to run over the top of Volpine and Gravina, which was a short favourite, just didn't really get going until late. Rob, run us through what the favourite looked like versus some of the others.
Look, she can get a bit hot, and she got a bit hot here. Like her coach often has a real glow to it, and it did again. But just as the parade went longer and longer, I couldn't get excited about $1.95 about this horse, and I think she might be even better as earlier in her preparation. I found Electric Girl and Marway and the thing that was second favourite, Belushi Babe, and look, I probably need to have a look at the replay. I'm dirty not to have been on Quantico because I'm that keen about April Rain, which it beat, and I know April Rain should have beaten it, but just on a form thing, I could have just come up with a way to have something on Quantico, who looked really, really impressive, I thought, the last couple 100 metres. Do I want to follow anything out of this race? But Marway's run last, so maybe it's in the Cuba camp, or it's possibly a never again. Bellucci Babe, I know this stable can get him fit, and I thought she still looked like she had a bit of improvement in her still. So maybe on a softer track, she can turn her form around.
Mark Shean, are you giving an excuse there to the favourite?
Well, the only thing you can think of is that they went a lot slower the other day when he did flash home and then ridden closer in a much faster run race on Saturday. That's the only excuse you could find because, look, he'd had a perfect run in transit. He did sweat up, but as Rob said, but he does that most of the time anyway. So it was hard to find an excuse. Maybe he got into too short of odds, but I was on and left it in the bag. Quantico, I think the fast pace suited him. I've got him going pretty fast early, 34.3, so it's pretty quick to my eyes. So was probably run to suit him, and he looks to have come back in good order, and they were swooping there late. So, John O'Shea's got him going well, and he seems to be able to win the last race. John O'Shea there, promised success down the outside, very slimmer as well. Very disappointing in the favourite. I thought Brutality didn't go hopeless here. Look, I know he's run about third last, but he is a wet tracker. He looked above himself, and he just ran out of room the last 100. So even though he's finished a long way back, he might be in for good preparation here. I thought he hit the line okay late.
Okay, don't mind that there. Mark Rhoden, what are you doing with this race?
I don't know. I think the winner's a nice horse. I was concerned about his map. I think he had to come back. Both his runs have been very good this time in. And when I saw the fields, I wanted to give him a chance against the favourite, but I just thought with the respective barriers that it was going to set up a lot better for Gravina. Didn't pan out that way. I think Gravina's gone okay, but I thought it might have a bit more to give off its last start, the sectionals it ran. Couldn't get past Volpine. Volpine's actually gone back to a level she'd shown last prep once or twice. She didn't look to be going anywhere near as well, but she has run right back up to that. And Gravina, despite sort of trailing it, couldn't get past it. But it was left to Quantico to bowl them over. Disappointed. Got top odds this one and no joy again. Standard.
Yep. All right, that brings us to the end. I'll get a couple of horses to follow from each of you. Rob Scurry, out of the yard, what are you following?
Look, I'm struggling to come up with anything. I'm not sure if the 2-year-olds are any good, but I thought the favourite certainly was a bit fat and can improve. But Mark tells me its first up run wasn't much good, so he was almost the best type. And the 5 out of the 2-year-old, he found the lead from a wide barrier but folded up. But I think maybe he can improve first to second start. The 7 in that race as well. So those 3, but they're the first 2-year-olds I've seen. I'll be out at Canterbury on Wednesday. We've got a race of 4 first starters, so that's got me excited. But yeah, sorry punters. And the thing that the Emerald Kingdom that can certainly improve.
All right, Mark Shean, for yourself.
I thought Media's Starguest out of race number 4. I'd really been impressed with his trials coming in. He was caught 3 wide on a limb in this race, and he's much better over 14 or 1600 metres and with a little bit of cut out of the track. So I thought that was a very good return from him. And I thought Bergen was, he was in a bad spot all the way in race number 5 and did a good job to hold on for 3rd. And Brutality, if you can get a bit of sting out of the ground, but maybe this time of year you won't.
And Mark Rhoden, some horses to follow.
Haven't really got any, to be honest, that I'm going to be desperately looking for next start. I actually thought I'm always a bit sus when it's the only race on the day over that trip, but I think the 2-year-olds have run a good 1,000-metre time for the day against the other sprint races for this time of year. It also shows that Snitcat, who's run 3rd, I think it's gone better than its debut, but I think that the fact that it's been able to run 3rd here is a bit of a marker for the strength of that Coolangatta form. It's clearly the standout 2-year-old we've seen.
That thing went to pieces in the yard too. So you can parade a lot better, that Snipcat.
Well, that's really interesting because its figure's been better. His second up and it's only been beaten a length, so that's so there might be something there.
Yep. I'm right in saying that, Mark Shean, aren't I?
Yeah, it sweated up. In fact, 1st and 2nd were probably the 2 best paraders. I was on the 2nd horse at $15 and missed the price to win it, missed the 20s, and then forgot to come back to back it. And what an imbecile! That High had trialled quite well behind Ginger's Gal, who'd won another trial since. So one for Baker, which has trialled really well. So watch out for Ginger's Gal.
Yep. The first 3 across the line there in the 2-year-old race have broken the class benchmark, which is always a good little indication there. The week ahead, Hawkesbury Tuesday, Canterbury Wednesday. Rob, you'll be disappointed to learn the 2-year-old race has been deleted, so it's only 6 races. Thursday at Gosford, and then Saturday, Newcastle, plus Rosehill, including the Golden Eagle. Mark Shean, do you have any sort of early thoughts on the Golden Bird race?
No, I've had a look at some replays of Maximal this morning, but no, I haven't got too far into it at this stage. I'll probably do something in the morning.
Okay. Mark Rhoden, just another standard busy week for yourself. Obviously, it's Tuesday at Hawkesbury tomorrow, and then next Tuesday, Cup Day with Kembla and Randwick to look forward to.
Yeah, plenty on this during this period every year, but we'll just do our best.
And Rob, you'll just be happy to be on course, I'm sure. So you've got Canterbury Wednesday, Rosehill Saturday, and then Randwick next Tuesday. Yeah.
If I get a ticket to Tuesday, that's a ballot meeting. All the nonnies get out for the Melbourne Cup, so I'll be touch and go if I get in.
All right, find a way. Thank you very much for joining me. To the Marks, we'll catch up on Friday and preview the Golden Eagle meetings. And until then, go well.